It is the end of the year and we are still being bombarded with brand new releases, and it feels like brands are just trying to squirrel their way in and get their new launches in before 2026 starts. Specifically with lip products, we are being told left and right that this is going to be the best new thing, and then we turn around and it's like the same exact thing that we've been seeing for the last 8 months. I recently picked up a ton of drugstore products, and today we're going to be talking about all of the lip products that I'm testing out. I did a first impression for all of these, which you guys are going to see, and then I'm gonna weigh out the pros and cons for you, talk about the wear test, and at the very end of the video I'm gonna let you guys know which one I think is the best out of all of them. Let's talk about our lineup today. So first we have the Maybelline Serum Lipsticks. We have the satin and the matte versions. We're gonna be talking about the Maybelline Cloudtopia cheek and lip mousses. We've got 3 of the L'Oreal Hyaluron Lip Tint Lip Stain Serums, and lastly 3 of the NYX Jelly Jobs. So I wanted to film my first impressions for all of these products for you guys. So we're going to kind of jump into the footage of me doing the first impressions for all of these, and then we're going to come back and weigh out the pros and cons. I'm going to let you guys know what I think and my experiences with these products for the last 3 weeks. So before we jump into the first product, I want to know and let you guys know what the goal of this video is going to be. So because these are all very different formulas, we're not going to be comparing apples to apples. We can't necessarily compare the longevity of it and decipher if it's going to be a good product based on that. I'm more looking at this as, do I think that these products are comfortable? Do I think that they are standalone good products? And I want to see which one is going to be the one that works the best for me, my wear habits, and how it like integrates itself into my routine. That is how I'm going to be picking my best product out of all of these. Okay, and with all of that being said, the first one we are going to talk about are the Maybelline Serum Lipsticks. So my first impression of this one is going to be a little bit different from the other ones. I did do a first impression of these in a short, so I will play that here for you guys right now. Maybelline decided to do a sneaky little drop. These come in satin and matte, and I bought these on TikTok Shop, so let's try them. There is a satin formula, which is this one, and then there are matte formulas here. I got 3 shades. Here is Maybe It's Soft. Here's Maybe It's Matte. And lastly, Take the One. These all look very, very similar. Let's do the satin one first, and Maybe It's Soft. It feels very balmy, very glossy. That feels nice. Super thin. I'm wondering how this compares to their lip glazes. There's a slight sweet scent to them. This one's really pretty. It looks like a naturally occurring color, like to my complexion, so I think it works pretty well. Let's do the matte version of that color. You know what this formula reminds me of? Back in the day when Maybelline had like a soft matte lipstick formula, it almost feels identical to that. It's a little bit warm, like more so on the orangey side than what I usually go for. It feels really good though, and it doesn't feel like a drying matte. The pigment is nice and even though, which I really appreciate. Lastly, Take the One. The pigmentation is really nice. You really don't need to go in with a lot of this. So this shade is a little bit more what I expected. It's slightly on the rosy side of things, and I think it works really nicely. I think it would be even better with a lip liner. I'm excited to see these in store so I can swatch more of the colors. And now I do want to expand and show you guys my thought process whenever I sat down to film all of my first impressions, minus the Maybelline lipsticks, but this is going to give you guys a little bit more insight on my thoughts at the time. Maybelline lipsticks. I kind of wanted to swatch these with you guys and further describe what I think about these so far. I do have some satins which come in this muted pink right here, and then in these grayish mauve tubes we do have the matte ones. Something that I noticed with these that I think is very interesting is that all of the swatch videos I've seen on them, it looks completely different on everyone, and not necessarily lighting. I have looked at different videos with different lighting and I've taken that into account, but just generally it looks so different, almost to the point where I'm like, are these lipsticks morphing? Like, I know that color theory definitely plays a role here, but it's just so confusing the way that these look. So let's do the satins first. I have the shade Upstate and I have the shade Maybe It's Soft. This one I did put on in that first impression short video. These do have a lipsticky scent to them, kind of like a sweet vanilla, but it's super, super subtle and it definitely doesn't stick around. These feel very cushiony, they feel very comfortable, and when you're putting them on, they truly feel like you're putting on a very thin, lightweight serum onto the lips. I don't know if you guys have ever put your skincare on and you've kind of swiped it all over, including your lips. It feels exactly like that when you use a hydrating serum. I would say that these have pretty high coverage when it comes to opaque opacity, but they definitely smudge. Like even just putting it on, you can see that my bullet has already gotten a little bit of a smear right there from the lipstick. I noticed with a lot of the colors though, they translate incredibly different on the lips than they do on the tube. This looks like it would be almost like a warm reddy pink, but on me it looks just like a straight up mauvey pink almost. And I myself was very curious how they compared to their glaze craze that they came out with, their lifter glazes. So let's do that right now and see how they compare. So first up, we do have the satin lipstick, and then we have the lifter glaze. Okay, right away you guys can see opacity for sure varies here. The lipstick, it gives you way more coverage, as I would assume it would, versus the lifter glaze. I almost feel like this is sort of like a tinted balm type of thing. Oh, it's an oil balm. They're both very comfortable, I will say. Very different then. I was thinking they were more similar in my head. I do think that this packaging is very cute, you guys. It kind of reminds me of Legos. Now let's put the shade Upstate on. I wanted something that was a little bit more nude, something that I could pair with a deeper lip liner, and this one I think does really well for that, except it is quite cool. Much more cool than what I normally would go for, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. It's like this mauvey gray tone on me, which again, it definitely does look very cool in the bullet, but it looks like it has more pink in here than mauve. I don't know if you guys can see that. Okay, now for the mattes. I really like the matte formula. I think that it feels very comfortable. So this one I have in the shade Crop Top. This is one again that I recently picked up, and this I think is really nice as like a lighter nude. This one I would not wear alone because I do think it just kind of erases my lips too much. I think the matte feel of this is not too matte, like you still feel a little bit of hydration, but it doesn't translate in terms of the finish here, which is really nice. This one I do actually really like. It's just my biggest issue with these are going to be the shades. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of want them to come out with more neutral shades, like things that aren't just like reds or pinks, or something that's not like too cool, because I don't know, it just isn't my style. But again, I can understand and respect that not everything is catered to myself. Okay, now let's get into the pros of these. So again, I'm going to be kind of switching between the mattes, which are these gray tubes, and then the satins, which are going to be in this like baby pink shade. So firstly, I really like that they gave us two different formulas. I like that we have satins, and I like that we have mattes. And I will say that I really like that the mattes are not too matte, and the satins, they still feel like they have a little bit of grip to them. They don't feel super, super slick. Even though they do feel serum-y, they feel a little like a thick hydrating serum. I think both of them are very comfortable and easy to reapply if you have to, and I will say you probably will have to if you are eating and drinking throughout the day. I will say that while these do have a scent to them, they are nowhere near as aggressive as other drugstore bullet lipsticks can be when it comes to how strong they are, which I personally really enjoy. If you guys want a little bit of a comparison, I find that the serum lips are less slippery than something like the Revlon Super Lustrous lipsticks, if you guys have tried those. So they last longer, and they again feel a little bit thicker. So they do feel slightly more hydrating than something like the Revlon Super Lustrous lipsticks. Also, I kind of feel like these are similar to the Kofi bullet lipsticks, if you guys have tried those, except I do feel like those are a bit thicker on the lips, which isn't a terrible thing because I do feel like for bullet lipsticks, those do have pretty good longevity. When it comes to the Kofi shade range, I like it like leagues better than I do with the Maybelline line, because I do feel like the Maybelline line definitely sits very tightly within the pinks and the reds. With that being said, if they can kind of expand on the shade range, I feel like the look of these are again so similar to the Kofi ones specifically. I feel like the Kofi ones are somewhere in between the satin and the matte finish, but if we're talking about like the satins, I feel like MAC like cream finishes, like whatever that is, I can't remember exactly what they are. I think they are called the creams or cream sheens maybe. I think that they are very similar to that look and feel, but less staying power than those have. Okay, so now let's talk about the cons. So the very first thing is something I kind of touched on already. The shades online are very, very different from the shades in person. I do find that everything that I have swatched and I own do really pull very much pink or like warm reddish pink, somewhere in that mix. I wish that there was a little bit more range within the color range. Like I mentioned, they don't last super long if you're drinking, and specifically when you're eating. When it comes to the wear test, to be quite honest with you guys, I feel like it wasn't even a real wear test because I had to reapply it. I would say when I was eating, right after I would eat, because everything was pretty much gone. Anything that touched my food was pretty much gone. And whenever I was not eating and I was wear testing these, they lasted somewhere between 3 to 5 hours, but closer to like the 3-hour range, which again is not terrible for a bullet lipstick. So I will say these are not long lasting whatsoever. Also, when it comes to the finishes, I do think that when it comes to the mattes, some people may think that they are still a little too shiny. I have heard some feedback about that where they're looking for something that looks way more mattifying, and these just give too much of a satin matte finish. I personally like that. I don't like something super matte because I don't like when there's more potential for my lip lines to be accentuated, but I can see that being an issue for people that really enjoy their matte lipsticks. And on the flip side of that, I do find that the serum lipsticks, or I think they will wipe away very easily. I mean, they get all over the bullet. I think I have some like marks on the outside from when I've applied this. They are not transfer proof. They definitely will smudge if you like accidentally bump your lips on something, if you drink something. You cannot apply these nonchalant. Like, you really do need a mirror to make sure that you're getting it exactly where you want it to be. And lastly, for the con, I don't like, at first I liked this little Lego setup. I think I mentioned that in the footage earlier, but as I've used this more, it's just kind of annoying, the fact that you have to put this on a certain way. I mean, you can look at the letters to kind of piece together where it's supposed to go, but I want something that I don't even have to look at and I can just close. Which, okay, I put it on wrong. So there you go. A little bit annoying. It's, again, not a deal breaker, but just something to know. Next, we have the Maybelline Cloudtopias. And again, I did do a first impression of this in a short, so I will play that for you guys right now. Oh yeah. This feels very similar to like Korean lip products to me. I'm so curious about these Maybelline Cloudtopias. They're supposed to be kind of this like creamy texture. Really reminds me of their Dream Matte Mousse that they had, and Fwee's Pudding Pop. I got Toasted Sky and Solar Serenity. Solar Serenity is supposed to be more of this like coral shade. Wow, that's a lot of pigment with just a little tap in there. It does feel moussey, a little bit velvety, and I don't know if you guys can see that finish, but it doesn't look too hydrated, but it seems more melted down than their old Dream Matte Mousse blushes. I want to show you guys how easy that pigment was. So just a little bit, or you can kind of see the peaks and stuff on my finger. So it kind of shows you that whippy texture. Here is Toasted Sky. This is a BKN17, and I'm going to go in with Solar Serenity first. Definitely more of that moussey texture, and it's more on the matte side. It is really giving me Fwee Pudding Pop vibes, at least with the way that it's applying. Lots of payoff when it comes to pigment. I think I'm gonna take Toasted Sky and kind of like put it up towards my temple. They're even marketing this as something that you can put on your lips. So again, Fwee Pudding Pot over here. Once it's on, it's a little bit more intense, but I personally like to powder my face. And I find when I powder my face, my blush always kind of becomes a little bit less aggressive. So I think this is a really good starting point. I'm just wiping my lip balm off. So I'm taking Toasted Sky. You're gonna get a ton of pigment off of these on first tap, so make sure that you don't go too overboard. Oh yeah. This feels very similar to like Korean lip products to me. It also has that velvety texture on the lips, so I wouldn't say that it's going to be something that's hydrating. I'm curious to see how it wears throughout the day, but I really like how it doesn't look like you're wearing anything on your lips. It kind of looks like this is your natural lip color. I'm very excited for these. So far, they are seeming very promising. Okay, let's go straight into the pros on this one. So I do find that these are very, very different from the Maybelline Serum Lipsticks. So I do find that these are very different from the Maybelline Serum Lipsticks, which I think is really nice. They gave us 3 different finishes, kind of different products, at one time, like in the span of a month, which is very interesting to me, but I'm not going to complain about it because it does give us a very large range of product. So the first thing I really like about these, I like that they are very long lasting and they give you that blurred look on the lips and also on the cheeks. I really enjoy that like airbrushed finish. It is very, very pigmented. You can kind of customize how much pigmentation you're going to get on both your lips and your cheeks. I do find it's a lot easier to customize it when it comes to your lips. I just kind of take my finger and I dab it on. I like to start with a little bit at a time and then I will go in with more if I feel I need to. And I really enjoy it because it gives you that kind of lived in lip look. Sometimes I just want something that is easy, that is no fuss, and this gives me that. They apply very, very evenly, especially when you're talking about more of a blurred kind of moussey texture, and I don't feel like they're overly drying. They do have a little bit of like a soft hydration to them, but nothing that's going to translate on camera or in person. You know what I mean? Like you can feel that hydration, but it's not like shiny. I do think that these are very pigmented, and I kind of debated on if I thought that these actually stained, and I'm a little on the fence, to be honest with you guys. It does stay put. Like it definitely sticks to the lips. Does it stain it? I don't know if it's actually staining it or if it's just the natural finish of this one that makes it stay on the lips. I guess you could kind of debate that it does stain the lips because it actually stays, you know what I mean? And it doesn't really transfer too badly once it's really worked into the lips. And the last thing that I really enjoy about these are that they are a true multitasking product. Sometimes when things are labeled as being a lip and cheek product, I will gravitate towards using it just one way, whereas with this one, I really have used it on my lips, on my cheeks equally as much as I have on the other. I think the ease of use is definitely there, which is why I feel comfortable using it in both areas. Okay, now cons. So this isn't necessarily a problem that I feel like I run into often, but I do think that for a lot of people, this is going to be too strong of a pigment. So it might be a little bit hard to work with, especially if you're trying to work it in on your cheeks. I know in this video, we're talking about using on the lips, and with that being considered, it is very easy to use on the lips, especially if you're just using your fingers. I know that some people don't like to dip their fingers into like a pot like this, so you can go in with a brush or maybe like a silicone applicator, like something that Fui has, and that is way more hygienic for sure. But even if you use those things to apply it, I still feel like it's going to be very easy to use. It is going to be a little bit more of a learning curve to figure out how much to put on your cheeks, especially if you're not used to more pigmented products. And also when it comes to more pigmented cheek products, a lot of the times, or I think that we are more accustomed to seeing liquid blushes being very pigmented, and those typically are more hydrating. So they're a bit easier to blend out with your brush, kind of go in with a sponge to like soak up extra product. Whereas this kind of dries down, like I said, and like meshes into the skin almost immediately. So you really have to be careful with how much you use in the first place because it might be a little bit difficult for you to take away. You know what I'm saying? A couple things I wanted to note that are not pros, not really cons either. Some people are saying that they think that these are re-released glorified Dream Matte Mousse blushes. I was just starting to wear makeup whenever those were really, really popular, and I remember getting them, and at the time I had very dry skin. So for me, they didn't work out very well, but I do, well, specifically the foundation and concealer, but I do remember really liking the blush. So I mean, maybe I could definitely see it. These are definitely more packed in though, but that's not to say that if I were to take like a spatula or something and mix this up, it's not going to give us that same airy, whippy, moussey texture. I've also noticed that these really remind me of the NYX Squishy Bombs, except not in a tube. It's going to be in a jar. I think they're very, very similar. So if you like the Squishy Bombs, you'll probably like these as well. Next up, we have these brand new L'Oreal Hyaluron Tint Lip Stain Serums, and I'm gonna play for you guys right now our first impressions. We have these new L'Oreal lip stains, which I'm so excited for. The colors of these look so promising, and I'm just excited to see a lip stain hit the drugstores. I have 3 shades: 640 Tea Time, 635 Worth It Medium, because of course I had to get that classic shade, and then I also got the shade 680 Nude Espresso, and this one from the swatches reminded me a lot of my favorite Violette FR lip Rose de Mauve. That one is one of my all-time favorite lip stains, so I'm really hoping that I found a drugstore too. So we'll go in with Worth It Medium first. Ooh, that's pretty. It looks more red than what other Worth It shades are, if you guys are familiar with the L'Oreal lip colors. This is 640 Tea Time. Ooh, that's a beautiful berry. Wow, okay. I don't know if that's what I thought it would be. And then 680 Nude Espresso. I'm excited for this one. Ooh, okay. Bit more cool. We'll see how it does. If I can call your attention to the doe foot here. The doe foot has turned blue. It's like dyed blue. That's very common for a lot of lip stain products. Let's also leave this for a couple seconds and then wipe it away to see what the stain leaves us. But I will say, just looking at the swatches here on my arm or on my hand, they look different than what the marketing photos look like. Okay, let's go ahead and wipe this away. I don't know if I can do it all at one go, but let's try. Oh, I did it. Okay, now remember, this was just swatch on the back of my hand. This is going to fade differently if you're wearing a lip stain on your lips throughout the day. So it's probably going to be stronger on your lips, but I did want to see how the staining power is, and that's pretty good. And it doesn't feel dry. Like, it definitely has a layer of hydration there, which is really nice. Let's go in with Worth It Medium. So I'll pop up what Worth It Medium is supposed to look like. Of course, it's going to vary on everyone, especially with your complexion and the natural color of your lips. So just keep that in mind, but I'm hoping that it's somewhere in the realm of similarity to the marketing photos, because I do think that this is really pretty. Lips are dry, no product is on there, so let's apply it. Ooh, I like the doe foot. I like how flat it is and how wide it is, because it's allowing you to get even coverage quite quickly. It's not applying super glossy. It feels nice and slick, but it doesn't look super glossy. Oh, my lips are tingling a little bit. Why? You guys, on the label here, like where they have the barcode, it says temporary tingling, stop use if excessive discomfort. So they know that it's going to tingle, so just know that that is a common experience, I guess, with these. I think as I sat here, guys, it's turned completely red on me. No? Like, does it look completely red? And with a lot of lip stains, I will say that once it oxidizes, it oxidizes. Like, lip stains are notorious for oxidizing, and typically they go very red on me, and it's very red on me. This looks absolutely nothing like the photo. Do you see this? It's like a light pinky rosy shade here. Where is this on my lips? That's crazy. It says it's a medium berry nude. This is giving me sangria. What's happening? Let's see what it looks like once I wipe it off. Now, mind you guys, this is not like a Wonder Skin lip stain where you're supposed to leave it on for a couple minutes and then wipe it off. That's not how they're marketing these. These are supposed to be glossy lip stains that you can wear throughout the day that kind of fade throughout the day and go through different phases. So this is not supposed to be like a mask that you remove. So while this is pretty, I don't think that it achieved what it says it's going to achieve. As a glossy lip stain, not at all what I wanted, honestly. I think this would be really pretty as like a foundational color. So for me, a lot of times for lip stains, I'll put them on and then I'll wear them as I'm doing my makeup, and then I'll remove them and then put a lip liner and then a lip product on top, and I'll kind of use those stains as a foundation because my lips are not that pigmented to begin with. So this kind of gives me a little bit more of what I'm looking for if I'm looking for something a bit deeper. Oh, you can see here though on the inside of my lips, it's kind of clinging to the dry areas, like from where your lips go from outer lip to inner, like inside your mouth. it's kind of clinging there, and I'm not crazy about that. Let's see what this looks like with a balm on. Okay, it definitely has toned down that edge right there. I can still see it, obviously, but it hides it to where this looks like it would be more wearable. But the problem that I see with that is you're going to take off a glossy lip stain to then put on a different gloss on top. It doesn't really make sense to me. Okay, really disappointed in the color of this. We're gonna have to try these other shades and see if they oxidize as badly. Hopefully not. I guess we'll see. Okay, as you can see, definitely not what I was expecting with these. So let's go over the pros first before I get ahead of myself. I find that these leave a very even stain. Even if you only put it on for a little bit, I really like the amount of stainage that this gives you. It really gives you, again, that kind of lived-in lip stain look if you wipe this away. I think that the stain lasts a few hours, again, with consideration of eating and drinking. It does stay on. I think out of all the things we've talked about so far, these definitely have the strongest actual staining power. With eating and drinking, I do find that it fades, but I can still see pretty clearly the product on the outer perimeter of my lips. It's mainly just faded like right in the center of my lips. When I first wipe these away, they do leave a little bit of hydration on the lips, which I thoroughly enjoy when it comes to a glossy lip stain. I like when the glossy lip stain will fade and still leave me feeling like I'm wearing some sort of hydrating balm on my lips. And a bonus is I didn't really let this fade on my lips, so upon first swipe, they already felt really hydrating, which I think is really important if you're going to wear something as a stain, like standalone stain, because you're gonna want something that feels comfortable. Okay, the cons. Obviously, the very first con is going to be that these colors were nothing like I expected them to be. The photos in the marketing and the arm swatches that they have online are 1000% different than they actually swatch on me. I don't know if that's a me thing. I don't know if that's like a marketing thing. I mean, all I can say is these oxidize like crazy on me. You can see, even when I swatch them, they do start off much lighter, but when they sit on the lips or even the skin for like 10 seconds, they completely change. And that kind of drives me crazy. I really wanted to pick up the lighter shades to kind of see how those did. But honestly, I feel kind of burned. I feel burned by just how, I don't want to say deceitful. I honestly think that it's like a formulation issue. The second con is that I'm really not crazy about the feeling of these at first. I mentioned that they feel kind of tingly, not like a plumper tingly feeling. It's almost like annoying, like an irritating feeling. Have you guys tried the Wonder Skin lip stains? So sometimes when I put the Wonder Skin lip stains on, granted you do wipe those off, but with the Wonder Skin lip stains, that's kind of hard for me to say right now, they leave like, they make your lips feel a little irritated, like the chemicals or the ingredients in them are not they're just not meshing with my lips, but it goes away as soon as I wipe them away. These give that same feeling, but the fact that these are supposed to stay on the lips, I don't know if I like that. Granted, I did not keep it on my lips because I didn't like the look of them, but if you like the look of them, you may still experience that. And it's very interesting to me that they have on the tag that little side note where it says temporary tingling right there, and it says stop use if discomfort occurs. I think that's very interesting. I wonder about that. Is that bad? I don't know. Also, this experience with these really remind me of my experience with the NYX lip IVs. People were using the lip IVs to kind of create a stain. Like they would swipe on a ton of it, leave it for a couple minutes, and then wipe it away and then wear it as a stain. I feel like that's going to be the same case for these, because there's something about when these are freshly applied, they just don't look even. They don't look like a cohesive lip look. I don't know. They look too thick. There's something that I just don't like about them, and I'm really bummed about that, because I was really hoping that Nude Espresso, I was really hoping that this was going to be a dupe for my beloved Violet FR. Next up, we have the NYX Jelly Jobs. I did try these out for the first time on camera with you guys, so I will play that footage now. I've had these Jelly Jobs in my possession for quite a while, and I have practiced a lot of restraint because I wanted to do my first impression on camera. I have the shade Jelly Filled, and then Jelly Squeeze and Jelly Bean. So I've heard mixed things about this. So first off, the packaging I think is actually really cute and very sleek. I love the shape of this. Now the actual product here, and I saw some photos, I saw a couple videos, but I didn't really like dive into them. They have these plastic applicators. So this is what it looks like. Essentially it's this clear applicator, but it's more of a stiff rubber. I know that's not hygienic. And I was trying to figure out what this does, like why you would want to put this onto a product such as a gloss versus just going in with a doe foot that can kind of hold on to it with the different fibers on it. And to be honest, I'm not sure. I have to like dive deeper in it. But what this reminds me of is this K-Beauty Tokobo, and they also have this plastic applicator. There's a couple of different Korean brands that do the plastic applicator, but this one was the first one that came to mind. They do have that same silicone applicator, but this one is flat. With the flat one, when I've used this one, it can kind of spread the product evenly onto the lips, and I'm wondering if the same can be said about this one. Now, of course, as we know, K-Beauty and Western beauty trends are very different, so I'm wondering how this is going to translate in the long term for Western makeup wearers, you know what I'm saying? So let's go ahead and apply this and see how this does. So first I'm going to apply the shade Jelly Filled. So this is more of a stringy gloss, as you guys can see. It does have a sweet candy-like scent, which I actually like. I'm expecting a lot of pigment. I'm expecting it to be quite drippy looking on the lips. Not terrible. You can see it's kind of meant to just go in one swipe. I was able to go in and then flip it over and go in. But do you see how watery and glossy my bottom lip is? That looks very nice. But I am seeing on the bottom lip a little bit of the pigment pooling into my lip lines on my lips. And I haven't put any gloss on top, and look, a little bit gloopy. Let me get closer so you guys can see the pigment lines, hopefully. The effect from a distance, beautiful. Let me go in and fill this doe foot again with some product, and then we'll go on the top lip. That's beautiful. It's definitely giving you a mirror shine here. It does have that thick feeling. You know how sometimes with especially lip oils that were coming out very often, you would put them on and it would kind of give you not like a tingly feeling, but almost like a warm numbing feeling, not like a reaction type of thing. I've realized it's not a reaction. It's just well, maybe it is a chemical reaction. I was going to say it's the ingredients. There's something about this that makes it feel like you're wearing almost like saran wrap on your lips. And it does say that this has cherry oil extract in it, which is interesting because the Tokobo says that it has wild cherry fruit extract. So I'm wondering if that was on purpose. It's really, really giving me exactly what I would expect from the description of this. But if I'm really, really looking at it, I can kind of see it. And you can also kind of see it in their marketing photos. Like some of the lighter shades that they have swatched, you can see the pigment on the lip line. So I appreciate that. I appreciate that they didn't Photoshop anything. They're kind of telling you like, this is what you're going to get if you use this. Now, what I want to do with the next color is actually go in with way less. Now let's go in with Jelly Squeeze. Oh, it looks like it has a little bit of shimmer. Does this one? No, this does not, but this is super fine micro shimmers in here. You know what the scent is? It's cherry. It's a cherry scent. Okay. I'm going to try to use everything on this applicator on both my top and bottom versus going back in for more product to see if we can kind of customize how this sits on the lips. Okay, that's just with one side of the applicator. Oh, you can see the glitter. It's kind of this bluish glitter. I don't know if you guys can tell. Let me use my camera light. That's actually very pretty. Not my cup of tea on a day-to-day basis, but I think it's pretty. Okay, I'm going to use the rest of this. Oh, I am seeing some stringing. Not a fan of that. Okay. You can build up this pigment though. The applicator is difficult to work with, I'm not gonna lie. And I think not necessarily because the applicator is bad or it doesn't work, but just because this isn't what I'm typically used to. You know what I'm saying? Like someone that typically applies their eyeshadow with their finger is gonna have a harder time applying their eyeshadow with a brush. It's just a different tool. And you can see as I'm talking, I hope you can see that this is stringing fairly badly. Like this is distracting and it's gross to me. I don't like that whatsoever. Of course, take all of this with a grain of salt, you guys, because what my preferences are not going to be the same for everyone. I understand if this product was not geared towards my preferences. Okay, I took off everything that I could, so let's go in with our last color. This is Jelly Bean. This one looks very promising in terms of color, but I do worry. I mean, we already know that she's a little bit stringy, even coming out of the tube there, so let's just see. That is beautiful. Definitely patchy, but I love the overall sheer wash that it gives my lips. I think the color is really nice. I'm just gonna press my lips together here. That is just with putting some onto my bottom lip here and then pressing my lips together. I think that's such a beautiful color. This is such a pretty, pretty color, but again, I can't get over the stringiness. And then you guys, like, this feels like a product that would kind of get on your teeth, especially if you wear like Invisalign or anything like I do. Oh, but it's so pretty. I wonder if you kind of wipe away that inside. Sometimes that can fix whatever stringy issue you're having. It is annoying, and it's definitely a workaround for sure. Yeah, for the most part, the stringiness has gone away. I don't know, maybe there's some hope for this. Because this is a first impression, I'm obviously not going to write these off right away. I think I need to play with the amount that I use, maybe what I use it with, and basically how I apply this. All right, so now let's talk about the pros of these. So I really, really enjoy the finish, the look of these on the lips. I really like that they are more watery and glassy on the lips, and I think that it is so beautiful. I think that these also have a really good amount of pigment to balance out how watery they look. Sometimes you have something, for example, like a lip oil that is super sheer and it's giving you a ton of like watery drippiness and not enough pigment, whereas this one has the same amount of pigment as it does that glossy look. I understand why they called these jelly, because they do feel a little bit jelly, like it has actual grip on the lips. So it seems like it's going to be longer lasting than you think, even though it looks very watery, like it's going to kind of just like come off of the lips. They really do like stick on there. It's not long lasting, transfer proof, whatever proof by any means, but they last longer than, you know, your standard lip gloss. And I do like the way that these smell. I love that like hint of cherry that they have. All right, now let's talk about the cons. So like you guys saw, these do seep into the lip lines, specifically this one in Jelly Squeeze. I noticed that a lot. And I do think that this one in Jelly Bean has the potential of really accentuating those lip lines if you have naturally lighter lips. I do think that they can look very stringy if you put too much on, and it's probably not going to be the greatest product if you have more thin textured lips, because again, it's going to be a lot of product on the doe foot and you might get some pooling in those lip lines. So now let's talk about the applicator. I did do more research on the applicator and I looked into my personal collection again because I knew I had more than just the Tocobo lip products that have a similar applicator. So some of the applicators that I had in mind are obviously the Tocobo ones that I showed you guys, the 3CE, I think they're like water dew tints, something like that. I have a couple of those, and the Judy Doll lip stains that got really popular. And I was searching, I was trying to figure out, okay, what are the pros of having this? Why did NYX specifically do it? And I think that's a twofold. So we're going to be talking about this silicone applicator and then a doe foot, aka an applicator that has flocking on it. The little like the texture or the fuzzies on a doe foot, that is called flocking. Something about these plastic applicators are that they are meant to be more hygienic. If you are the type of person that likes to do a lip combo, maybe you like going in with a lip liner, maybe you want to go in with a regular bullet lipstick and then top it with one of these Jelly Job glosses, then this applicator is supposed to be a lot easier to wipe off. If you had the clear version, you know when you have a clear gloss and you top your lip combo with a clear gloss and you have to like wipe it off, at least I do. This makes that a lot easier. You don't have it just like seeping into that flocking, and you can just take a tissue, wipe it off completely, and then it's good to go for the next application. You're not like mixing product in there. So that is one benefit of this applicator. Another thing that I found out is that the applicators typically will hold double the amount of product and be able to actually distribute all of it onto the lips versus, again, just soaking into that flocking. But with that being said, it also allows you to have more precise application and thinner layers of application. When I was putting it on the first time, I was kind of using this flat on my lips, which, you know, that's what I'm normally used to. But something that a lot of brands will do if they have this is they will encourage you to kind of take the side of it and just apply it that way, so you get a very thin veil of product. Very, very similar to, you know, when people were using spatulas, like metal spatulas, to apply their foundation as thin as possible to get the most natural coverage. This is kind of doing that. So it makes sense why when I use the entirety of the front and the back of this applicator, it was very, very goopy. While it can hold double the amount, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to use double the amount. It's just a little bit more ease of use, even though for someone like me who's not used to it, it was a little bit more difficult to use. It's definitely not going to be a favorite for a lot of people. I totally get that. Sometimes we just want to grab our gloss, put it on, not think about it, and not have to sit there and really like take our time putting it on. I get it, but I think the reason why NYX did this, truly, my opinion, they just did it to look different. They did it to catch your attention. NYX is very, very well known for doing that. They want to surprise you with the names. They want to surprise you with the applicators, the colors, you know? It's part of their MO at this point. I don't think that NYX intended this to serve a real purpose because they haven't highlighted specific application techniques with it. They have highlighted the applicator so you know, hey, look, this is different, but they haven't told you how to use it a specific way to get it to work a specific way, if that makes sense. Again, just my opinion. So those were all of the drugstore lipsticks that I tested out in the last like 3 weeks or so, and I have been using them almost every single day. Now let's talk about which one I think actually wins out of all of them. I gotta preface and tell you guys that there is not one that like won by a landslide. There's not one product that I was like completely obsessed with. I have to be honest with you guys. All of these releases had a lot of cons, like way more cons than I wanted. But if I have to pick favorites, and I'm gonna cheat a little bit here, I'm gonna give a first place and a second place because they are so close in how I feel about them. The Maybelline Serum Lipsticks and the Maybelline Cloudtopias. And I'm kind of leaning towards the Maybelline Serum Lipsticks being the winners here. And this is the reason, okay? I think that shade range aside, I like that they gave us, again, 2 finishes. I like that both finishes feel comfortable. I like that the finishes are different from each other. I don't like the shade range that much, but I do think that if you enjoy this shade range, these are going to be such easy lipsticks to reach for. I do think that the bullet lipstick is having a comeback, if I'm being honest. I think they're fun to kind of mix and match. I think that these are ones that I have reached for absent-mindedly throughout the last couple of weeks. And even like, you know, if I want to add a little touch of something a little bit cooler, like on the center, I've been doing that with these lipsticks. If I want to blur these out and make them look more natural, like I'm not wearing a lipstick, like this is my natural lip color, I can do that with these matte ones. I'll put a little bit on and I'll kind of blot it out with my finger, which is another reason why I feel like the Maybelline Cloudtopias are really nice, because they give you that natural look, but you can build them up, but anywhere you wear them, they look really nice. These do have really great staying power, and I love that they are multi-use. I do, again, think that the shade range is a little bit smaller than what I would like, if I'm being honest, but Maybelline is definitely known for expanding their shade ranges. I mean, the Teddy tints that they released this time last year, they just recently released more nude shades this year. So I will not be surprised if we see some expansions on these. I really do enjoy these products, and if they're revamped products, I would say it's probably not for nothing, you know? Like they're probably bringing them back because they did so well before, because because they were fan favorites and maybe they're just modernizing them. So those are my picks, you guys. Of course, as always, I'm gonna leave everything tagged below with the YouTube shopping tab, as well as in my description if that's easier for you guys. I do get commission when you guys shop through my links or when you use the YouTube shopping tag, so I really appreciate it because it does support my channel and it allows me to do more videos like these for you. Please let me know if you guys have tried any of these products and what you guys think about them, if you've had similar experiences to me, and if you have tips for me on any of these, I would gladly take them from you guys. I'm gonna leave some content right here for you guys in case you want to watch more of my content. I would really appreciate it. And until next time, you guys, I will see you very soon and take care. Bye.